start Ariel Foundation? What was the idea behind it? And when you founded it, how long have you been active? Who are you targeting within your nonprofit organization? What is your mission and vision? Where do you see yourself in 5 years with the organization?
Oh, thank you. That's a lot. Well, first, let me say that we're going on 20 years. Ariel Foundation International is going on 20 years old, I think it's September. And if I really look back to see how did it start, it started with an idea. I was with a mentor who became an ambassador for the United States, and also he was the Sergeant at Arms for the US Senate. And I remember going to lunch with him, and he told me about a foundation that his daughter, who was a lawyer, started in order to help young people. And I thought, oh, a young woman started a foundation to help young people. And I would say that before I took action, it started with an idea, this idea that somebody else did it and I can do it too. And I believe this was in 2002. And I had decided that it was really time for me to give back to other people in a formal manner. I've always done community work. My family's always been involved in community work. My late mother received all kinds of awards for community work. So it was part of our lives. It was a normal part of our lives. And in 2002, I decided to formalize it. And once again, I had a second mentor. And the second mentor was a woman, and I was doing consulting work on an international level. And I was using some of the funds from the consulting work in order to do, I won't say charity work, but work that was more towards young people and children. And she was a person with a PhD and a law degree. And she said to me, why are you doing this? Why don't you formalize it? And so once again, I had a mentor help me to formalize the foundation to Ariel Foundation International, to register it internationally, to register it in the United States. And then we started from there. I believe that I started the foundation because I wanted to have an organization that wasn't so much concerned with collecting money and paying staff, but an organization that would collect funds, collect money, but even more importantly, collect intellectual property and have people work with young people in mostly at the time in developing countries, even though now we do more, and not just in the cities, but actually outside of the cities of the developing countries. So when the organization started, we started as a very strange organization, 100% volunteers, 100% of the donations going directly to programs within 6 months of getting those donations.
And so you mentioned having mentors in your life. So how important do you think are mentors for young women who are trying to either fight for women's rights or opening their own non-for-profits?
I believe that my entire life has been blessed with mentors. I believe that even today, I look for mentors. I look for people that have already done what I'd like to do, or I look for people who have done much more than I have ever done. So then I can actually try to reach towards that and to learn from them. And mentors in my life have changed my entire life. And I do mean my entire life. I was able to get into Rotary. I was able to go into Rotary exchange, going to Madagascar at a young age because of mentors. I was able to get Rotary scholarships for ambassadorial scholar to finish PhDs because of mentors. I've had mentors that were there for me when I would cry and whine and tell them how horrible the world was because the world did not conform to my idea of what they should do for me. And I've had wonderful mentors that basically said, are you finished? They would listen to me, but are you done? Tell me when you're done. Okay, so now that you're done, what you need to do is go forward. What you need to do is stop thinking about how the world doesn't do something for you and you make that path yourself. I have had extraordinary mentors, including at the United Nations, Selfless. Let me just say my first internship that I had at the United Nations, I'm really surprised that I got it, was at the World Health Organization. And the day that I went there, I had an office with my name on it. I had an inbox with work to do. And I don't mean busy work like copy, I mean actual work to do. And I had a mentor that believed and trusted my ability from day one. It wasn't, oh, you're a young person, you're a stage or an intern, so get my coffee, make my copies. He believed in me and he made sure that I believed in myself. There were times that I didn't believe in myself. And he would basically look at me and say, do it.
Right.
Okay. Made a difference. So mentors, I believe that mentors do not have to be people with degrees. They don't have to be people who have a lot of money. Mentors are people who are making a difference in the world that you see before you, that you want to either imitate, emulate, or be inspired by. So it can be anyone.
Wow, that's amazing. I absolutely agree with you. I had the same experience, but somehow, especially in, for example, the Women in Leadership course, I see a lot of the times women feel like they have the likability dilemma problem where it's always about, what will happen if I say this? We constantly are overthinking whether we are in a meeting, what will happen if I say this? What are the consequences? And so finding this mentor that will kind of put you into the fire where you simply have to get out of your comfort zone, it's just so crucial for the development process. But looking back, I mean, you're now with all of this experience, it feels like it's easy to say, but if you look back and you think about Ariel with 18, what would you have told yourself back in the days that would have helped you maybe to overcome some problems?
Believe in who you are, and you are enough. Literally, you are enough. You don't have to be more, do more. But I believe that I was quite fortunate to have women around me who allowed me to understand the value of myself. And I think that's crucial. It's difficult also if you're an outspoken person. It's difficult if you are an unusual person, that you don't quite fit into the mold, and you don't quite fit in with all the group. It's very difficult. And as women, usually we do everything we can to not just get along, but to have peace in order to collaborate and so on and so forth. And there are times that becomes difficult. And there are times that people don't want to collaborate with you. And there are times that people really don't want to hear what you have to say. And there are times that people want to put you in whatever box that they want to put you in, and they want to keep you there. But I would say to any 18-year-old, grow, develop, spread your wings, take a chance. Don't be afraid of taking chances. Travel by yourself, travel with a friend, do what I believe your heart really wants to do, because that's what we do. It's amazing. We go through our 20s, 30s, and 40s and do a lot of conforming. We get to our 50s and realize, I might have 20, 25 years left. Maybe I should do what I want to do.
Yes.
I say start early. And then when you're in your 60s, you're really thinking, wow, let me see, where's my bucket list? Didn't I say I wanted to do this and I wanted to do this? I was very fortunate. In my 20s, I went on something called Semester at Sea, which is a Institute of Shipboard Education. It's a ship that goes around the world. I went around the world literally to 12 countries with 500 other people. And I had never left the country before. I had never been on a plane before. My parents said that's what they called it, a vacation, because I didn't go. So at 20 years old, went on a plane for the first time, went to the West Coast, and my first country was Japan. And I remember the shock and my ignorance, because we're on the ship. I look and I can't read anything. I can't read anything that I see. And my first idea was, oh my goodness, why don't these people actually write in English? And that also tells you how young and ignorant I was, but that's okay. Yeah. I mean, I've gone to over 70 countries, but it's okay. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to understand that you're human. You do have to understand that humanity is first. And you do have to understand that being ignorant is okay, but it's not okay to stay ignorant. You have to learn and understand the fellow people around you in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell my women, there's this example, I read this somewhere, I can't remember where, but it's the 20, 40, 60 rule. It's 20, especially we women, we're so, trying to get out of the comfort zone. What are someone going to think of us? This likability dilemma. We like to be accepted. We like to accept other people, being comforting, and all of these feelings are there. And then you're in your 40s, you realize it's not really like that. No one really cares what you do. No one really cares whether
They don't
you
care where you graduated from either. They don't want to know about your grades or your GPA. Your what? It doesn't make any sense. Zero is what you do. Yeah.
40s, and you don't care if you are in a meeting and you have a wrinkled jacket, because no one's going to think, oh, look at Julia or look at Ariel, she's less smart or has less experience because she's a wrinkled jacket. So there's so many things that changes with the years, and I just wish that, you know, we women, we have to stick together, right? And I feel like we are the ones that need to support each other and say, hey, I've been through this. Maybe you don't have to go through this if you can learn from my mistakes. And I think that's important.
Yes, and it's okay to make mistakes. I think that, you know, this idea of perfection is just overrated. And this idea of balance, let me say this, at my age, you know, I spent a lot of time trying to balance career, family, education, community work, and this idea of balance. And there came a time that I realized, wait a minute, this idea of balance is totally erroneous. It's not true. It's not real. There is no balance. It's like yin and yang. When yin and yang is not a circle with a line crossed all the way across, yin and yang has a little bit here, and it's a flow. And that's the way life is. And once I realized that there was no balance and I had to integrate the various parts of my life, and integration was everything, which means that the energy that I put in career sometimes was more than family. Sometimes the energy in family was a little more than my academic. But to understand that that's life, and that integration was much more important than quote unquote balance, I always felt like I was failing because I never balanced. And I was trying so hard. I was trying to do something that doesn't exist. So I would also say to women and to girls, forget about balance, integrate. Your life is your life, and every part of your life is important. And it's important that you, if you can, mix and put more energy when you can to one thing and more energy to another. And sometimes you quote unquote, I won't say fail, but you miss the mark, right? Don't think about failure. Just look at a boomerang and you're trying to hit the center. And sometimes you miss center, but it doesn't mean you miss the whole thing. And that's okay because we're not perfect. So missing center, I can understand, and integrating rather than balancing helped my life and helped me to feel less like a quote unquote failure and more like a human being living my life.
But isn't it crazy that we women, we're at home, we do with the kids and laundry and putting the family always together at the table and like trying to organize all of this. And then on the other side, doing everything on the career side, on the educational side. And we still are so harsh on ourselves. I sometimes when I sit down and I want to give myself a big slap because I realize, wait, what are you doing? Like you're doing so many things and you still can think about being a failure. It's crazy.
Isn't that amazing? Because a male can have the same thing but they don't have that, because I think in general, the society helps men to understand and realize that they're just wonderful the way they are. Little boys get to play and be adventurous and do this and that. And it's not about, well, oh, you don't want to help mom? No problem. Oh, you don't want to help dad? Yeah, go play. And I think that in general, we women have a connection to what we do for others to decide who we are as people and our value. And our value is inherent in our being, and our value is inherent in our birth. We don't need to do more in order to have the same consideration and respect, although many of us have the same issues. Not that I'm an extremely maternal person, a little bit too maternal. So I have the same, but I also realize that I have to take care of myself. If I don't take care of myself, I cannot possibly think about taking care of others. What I've learned from my own mother, Dr. Margot King, the late Dr. Margot King, is that I remember that she was so good with giving to others, but she was also good with giving to herself and being there for herself and nurturing herself spiritually and nurturing herself physically and making sure that she had things in life that made her happy, including, believe it or not, facials and pedicures and exercise and playing tennis and going out with girlfriends. And she made sure that her life was more than just serving others. But because she was able to do for herself, she was an incredible servant, a public servant, a servant for our family, because she did for herself first. And as a result, she had all the energy and all the love to do for us.
There's the metaphor, and I read this somewhere. You go to a bakery and you have someone who's bakes bread and all kinds of pastries, and he is in this one small village, and he's the only bakery in the village, and so he is the one that's responsible to serve all of the others in the village. But all of a sudden, because he's just concerned with the others in the village, he gives all of the bread out. He doesn't leave anything for him and for his family. And so all of a sudden he gets sick, he can't produce any more bread, and no one in the village has bread anymore. And that's how I see it. Sometimes if we as people, and women who are leaders, and if you are the leader, you're automatically the one who is putting the rounding the wheels, so to say, in your family. And if you stop, like everything else stops all of a sudden, then
everything stops and everyone suffers. But you know what's really interesting to me is that I don't know why and where, but we're not encouraging each other to take care of ourselves first. We're more encouraged to do for others first. And it's really very strange, because in learning how to care for ourselves, to love ourselves, to nurture ourselves, we have that possibility to do for others. But we don't talk about that very much. And when people do, oh, you're very selfish. Yeah. But no, I don't know where that came from. But I do understand that I would say to young women and even to girls, good for you doing for yourself. Good for you. Bravo.
And in this constant pressure that it's either, you know, in our societies, if you have, when I see a woman that is super successful, whether that is in her family, when I say successful, I mean happy, really, that is the ultimate. When a woman is happy, successful in that sense, fulfilled with joy for her work, for her family. And I know that she had to put in more effort. It's just the way how our society works than someone who is, you know, a man the same age, same, you know, personality and so on. I had to go for the extra mile. And I sometimes I sit and I ask myself, what can I do next? What can I do next? What do I have to do next? And I am so caught up in what I have to do next. And I wake up, I'm young, I have all these things that I've done in my life, and I truly ask myself, Julia, what have you done for yourself, or not for, you know, just kind of sitting and enjoying the moment.
You need to start now. You need to start now. You know, there was a time, and now I'm going back to it again, but I was quite fortunate because I had a family that encouraged me to do for me. I had a family that believed in my heart and my ability to give. So in my 20s and 30s, I was very much encouraged to go explore, go travel, do education, do whatever you want to do. And I did. You name it, I did it. I loved it. I didn't really want responsibility, to be honest. I didn't even want a car. Refused to have a car, because that was responsibility. Forget about an animal, like not even a car. So school would be over, university would be over. And as soon as it was over, I was on a plane, usually to Europe, had my summers, would work with my guitar, singing, whatever it was. But I was encouraged to be creative, to travel, to experience, to learn. And I wasn't shamed for it, and I wasn't put down for it. It was encouraged. So my life was very unusual because I was encouraged to do for myself, to explore, to learn, to develop. And that made a very, very big difference for me. It changed my life. Now, some people say I was a late developer. I think that's true, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay. I had a lot of privilege to have that time.
So what advice would you give me, for example? I'm currently at a state, you know, getting married, having kids. Since now I've been only working on kind of my bubble, my life, my education. And we are put in these boxes, especially women are put in boxes where, okay, once you have a family, your life is over, you know, your career's over, everything's over. And so even I teach women in leadership, I mean, come on, like I know these things and read about them, but I was caught up in the moment where I was like, all right, now I'm just gonna let some things go. And then I realized, no, you don't have to, you know, so
yes. I have to say, honestly, I think what I've learned also from my late mother is that you don't have to do everything. So when I can have other people do something, including paying for it, then I do that. So if I have somebody that can, if I have enough, if I have, let's say $100 or 100 euros, and it's going to cost me 40 euros to have somebody clean my house, or even 50, take the 50, please. Because that's time that I can have for myself and my development. I know that sounds really strange and it's a middle class thing, but it's not just middle class. There are things that you don't want to do that you have somebody else do, whether it's your car or whether it's sometimes dry cleaning. There are times that you go to someone else to do something that you could do for yourself. whether it's the garden. So I would say to women especially, if you can, it's okay not to bake that cake. It's okay not to put meals on the table that are fresh every day. It's okay not to go to the farmer to get the grains to bake the bread. I know people that actually do that, by the way.
Yeah. One of
Perfection doesn't have to be in serving only others. I would say develop yourself first. Take chances, be brave, say yes to yourself as often as you say yes to others, and say no more to people. Say no more to other people and yes more to yourself.
And especially the ones that we love the most sometimes are very, it's hard to say no to them, right? So I've been in a situation, now that you're mentioning the car, I'm actually here as I moved. And I told to my family, I said, I really don't need a car. And they looked at me and they were devastated. Like, are you normal? Are you okay? Or do you have a fever? Like, what's going on with you, Julia? You're acting kind of differently. And I said, I have an e-bike and I love to bike. That's like my time, because I go to the grocery and it takes me longer than with my car, but I go around, I look at other people's garden.
Your face, you know? And it's your time. And you know what? You can't answer the phone while you're on the bike.
Nope.
The car you can, it's automatic. And that's your time. And that's your Zen time. That's your me, nature. I'm with myself time. Good for you. And I can understand, because that car will get in way that time that you have for yourself. And that's how you make time for yourself in your particular life. Bravo.
But again, Ariel, like, it was such a decision where I really thought to myself, are you making the right call? What if something happens? What if, and then I realized it was going out of your comfort zone. It was something different. Always when people do something that is different, it's kind of like, what's going to happen? It seems like a, big decision not to have a car these days. But
then it's normal. Everybody rides on their bike and goes shopping. Or in France, you have people with the toilet paper and the baguette on the back. So it's quite normal.
Depends where you are, I guess. But exactly. I'm so happy, and I want to encourage everyone that will listen to this Spotify conversation, that once you feel it in your heart that it is going to be right for you, go for it. Like, go for it.
Say yes to yourself. Say yes to yourself, and no more often to others. And you know what? Being liked is not all that great, because you're always going to have people that don't like you. You're always going to have people that don't agree with you. You're always going to have people that don't even understand why you're doing whatever it is you're doing on earth. But it doesn't matter, because it's your life, and it's your life with people that love you and care about you. And you're the architect of your life. And you know what? If you don't take control of your life, someone else will. I was listening to a class that my teen daughter had, and the gentleman was saying, you have to tend to your own garden, because if you don't, something's going to grow there anyway. And it's going to be weeds. Would you like to have weeds growing in your garden? Right? Because weeds just grow. If you don't tend to it, weeds are going to grow. Or do you want to plant whatever it is you want to plant? I think it's the same for our lives. What do you want for your life? You have to figure out what you want for your life and put it in place. Because if you don't, you'll still be getting something, just not necessarily what you want. So you have two choices: make your life, develop it, plant it, decide what you're going to plant and sow, or sit back and wait for life to happen to you, which is not the best. I don't think that we women really need that. We already have a lot of challenges. That is not the way to go. That is not the way to go. And can I say, now that we have women who are fleeing with their mothers, their aunts, their children, their families, in this war, I think that on this International Women's Day, we really shouldn't forget about all of the women that are doing everything they can to bring their families, their extended families, to safety. When you look at women in general, we do everything that we can for the next generation to survive. I know that right now in my life, and I even say this, and I have really shifted. And right now, I love doing what I do for young people, but I also realize that I have two daughters, and most of my life right now is making sure that they develop in a manner which allows them to live and develop themselves. So when I'm not here, they can develop and have a good life. And if they want to, bring forth life for the next generation. but I'm literally conscious of the fact that everything I do now is to make sure that there's a survival, not just survival, but growth for my daughters. And so on this International Women's Day, I want to say to all of those women in every part of the world, not just some parts of the world right now that are having, every part of the world that is doing things for their families, I understand you. I want to thank you. It's wonderful that you are giving and loving, because without us, I don't know what the world would do. But please don't forget that if you're not giving to yourself, if you're not eating yourself and you're giving all the food to your family, if you're not resting yourself because you're staying up trying to make sure, please understand that without you, your family has no possibility for survival.
Thank you for that. Beautifully said. To finish and wrap up, we're just going to hop to another topic really quickly. And I want to give all of the women that are listening a good advice on how to improve their public speaking skills. I know this is something that we as a gender tend to maybe struggle a little bit with, just getting out there, again, getting out of our comfortable zones, especially for the introverts. But what are do you have some tips and tricks? I mean, you do it well, very well.
Oh, you're very kind. I think one of the tips and tricks is to think about that you're talking to your family, you're talking to your friend over coffee, that you're in a cafe and you're speaking to somebody that you really care about and you want them to have a better life. And I think that when we do speak, we get in our own way. We think about, well, what if I say this wrong? Or what if people don't understand me? Get out of your way. You have the intelligence, you have the thought, you have everything that you need in order to express yourself. Get out of your own way and allow yourself to communicate what you think and what you feel. What you think and what you feel is so important for not just yourself and your family, but for the world. So just get out of your way and express it.
Absolutely. Ariel, thank you so much for joining. It was a beautiful, beautiful day with you here on International Women's Day. I'm sure that we will share this super soon with our audience. And I'm excited for more work with both you and the foundation.
Thank you. Can I leave just a saying that we work with by Hillel? If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? If not now, then when? And I have added, if not me, then who? Thank you so much, Juliet. It was a wonderful interview.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.